Darren, a bit of a political soap opera at the moment. They may be renaming it I'm a Tory, get me out of here.
Indeed. The Prime Minister's spokesperson was asked about Matt Hancock's decision to go on the ITV programme I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. The response was that the Prime Minister believes that at a challenging time for the country, MPs should be working hard for the constituents, whether that's in the House or indeed in the constituency, i.e. not in the Australian jungle. A pretty quick move, clearly by the Chief Whip, to remove the whip from Matt Hancock because of a decision to appear on the Australian TV programme. Though some would suggest, given the essence of Number 10's argument, i.e. if you're an MP and Parliament sitting, you really should be in Parliament representing your constituents, one would assume that could extend to lots of MPs who actually take time out to travel around the world on parliamentary business, it must be said sometimes, and thinking notably of a former Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, who was sunning himself in the Caribbean while Parliament was sitting and very much still holds the whip. But yes, I think there is bemusement. And I think it's mainly bemusement, frankly, at Matt Hancock's decision to go on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. Clearly, I think a decision that he has recognised he's not going to be in frontline politics anytime in the near future. And this is a good way, not just to earn a bit of extra money, quite a lot of extra money for himself, but maybe also to raise the profile of the fact that he's got a book that's just come out on his handling of the pandemic, maybe appearing in front of 10 million people every night, eating a kangaroo's penis might boost those book sales. You never know.
I was just going to update you with the reflections of the Shadow Health Minister, Andrew Gwynn, who's just said, apparently, to be fair to Matt Hancock, I'd sooner eat wallaby anus than be a Tory MP too. And apologies for the language being used by the politicians in this particular instance. However, there is, of course, sufficient political drama behind you too in Downing Street over the Home Secretary. What were you getting from the lobby briefing on the position of Suella Braverman?
Well, just very interestingly, clearly there's very full support still for the Home Secretary. There's a recognition that things do need to change when it comes to the small boats crisis in the English Channel. We know that there have been significant numbers of people, that we haven't got precise numbers, have now been moved from Manston's migration processing centre to either the one in Dover or to different accommodation elsewhere, trying to relieve some of the pressure on that place that's clearly been under an awful lot of it in recent days and weeks. In saying that, there are still kind of outstanding questions about all of this. Again, there have been reports overnight and somewhat this morning that the Home Secretary did overrule officials in the Home Office to block hotels being booked for many migrants, even though she very vigorously denied that in Parliament yesterday. Reports today that was because some of these migrants will be sent to Conservative areas, to essentially where Conservative MPs are representing their constituents, and they didn't want them there. Now, we've got this kind of unsourced briefing, though it must be said, to various journalists and from multiple sources, we're told, saying that the Home Secretary has not been honest about this. The Home Secretary making it very clear in the Commons that is misreporting. So that will be a really interesting story to keep an eye on. And the other thing the Prime Minister's spokesperson wouldn't be drawn on, Mark, this afternoon was the use of the word invasion. It's a word, of course, that Suella Braverman used in the Commons yesterday to describe the numbers of people arriving in Dover and elsewhere. Robert Jenrick, who's the actual immigration minister, said that was a word he wouldn't have used, but it was a word he argued the Home Secretary was trying to express in terms of the scale of the number of people. Again, the Prime Minister's spokesperson insisted it wasn't the question that he'd asked the Prime Minister, so he was unaware of what the PM's answer on that would be. In the end, though, I would have thought Number 10 might be a little bit uncomfortable with that word. The Home Secretary says she's not going to pussyfoot around using what she thinks is an appropriate term to brand what's happening. Does Suella Braverman want this row? You bet she does. She wants us talking about the fact that she appears to be very tough on immigration. In the end, the language is one thing. The big question for Suella Braverman is, frankly, can she get on top of and control of a crisis that many of her predecessors have failed to do?